Oi, todo mundo, e bem-vindo ao Cooking with Chef Bryan. Yep, that was Portuguese because we're heading south of the border to Brazil today. I'm going to show you how to put together one of my beloved street foods, Coxinhas, coming up right now on Cooking with Chef Bryan. Well, seja bem-vindo a todo mundo aí. That is Portuguese from Brazil. I lived in Brazil for a couple of years and I loved the food down there because it was always so very, very fresh. Everything was fresh and it was filled with garlic, which is one of my very favorite seasonings. I love it. But we're going to start with coxinhas. Coxinha means leg or a chicken leg. So coxinha de frango, which is a chicken leg. And these are some delicious little deep fried treats that you would get on the street at any parties. Most restaurants had it. They had it in the bakeries, and they are so delicious. And we're going to start off with just some chicken here. Now, I have a chicken breast and I have chicken thighs. These are both boneless. I like to mix the two meat. When I learned how to do these, of course, it was very different. It was many, many decades ago that I was in Brazil. But I like to mix the two meats just simply because the two flavors are very different and flavorful combined. So to this now, I'm going to add the chicken to a pot of water. I have a couple of cups of water in here. Oh, maybe about 4 cups of water in here. That's important to know because we're actually going to use the stock that we're creating right here with the chicken to create the dough in just a little bit for this. So to this, I want to add in some sliced up carrots. That's a whole big carrot that you can add into there. Also, I want to add in a potato. This is a russet potato. I've just simply peeled it. And I'm going to cut it into some more manageable pieces because the potatoes and carrots were actually going to rice. So I have my ricer out here into the dough itself, and so, or the filling, however you want to use it. The potatoes are definitely going to go into the filling. Maybe the carrots you could put into the chicken filling itself, but the dough is going to have the potatoes in with it. So I'm going to cook up, get this boiling here to get those cooked up there. And we're going to start to create a chicken stock, a very simple chicken stock with this. So let's add the rest of this potato in there. There we go. Let's slice that up. Oop, just about lost that there. Slice that up a little bit. And I went out to the herb garden and got some fresh herbs to go in here to create that. So if you've ever created just a simple chicken stock, it's very simple to do, but you want lots of flavor. You can put some bay leaves in there if you want to. I have some oregano, some fresh thyme, some fresh rosemary that I'm going to add into there. And when you're doing stocks, the whole stem works great. You can just put them in there because we're going to strain all of this out and use the juice. I even have some parsley that I had used left over here that I'm going to add in there to it as well, and some whole peppercorns to actually add some more flavor to it. So remember, when you are creating stocks or flavors like that, you want to have all kinds of levels of flavors on there, and we're going to use the actual stock from this in the recipe itself. So I'm going to let this come up to a boil. Going to get that chicken cooked in there, and then we're going to shred that up to create the filling.
It's no secret, frozen rolls are fresher than bakery rolls. You see, bakery rolls are made in commercial bakeries. Then they sit all day in stores. Some even contain preservatives because rolls begin to stale immediately. By the time you eat your roll, it could already be days old. Rhodes Bake and Serve is found in your grocer's freezer. Simply take Rhodes frozen roll dough home and let it thaw and rise in a pan. Bake Rhodes rolls in your own oven. Rhodes Bake and Serve, hot and fresh, right out of your oven.
The chicken is done, and I actually temped it with a Insta thermometer, and that's very important. You want to make sure that chicken is temped to 165 degrees internally to make sure it is fully cooked. And I have strained and reserved the stock that we made with the chicken itself. I did add more stock to it to come up to 4 cups, because I want 4 cups here. Because this is really important when you're making the actual dough for this, because we're going to create like a pat a choux dough minus the eggs. So it's kind of that same steps that we're going to take, but just one that doesn't have the eggs in it. So we're going to bring the stock back up to a boil here. Here are the actual potatoes now. Those are the potatoes that I cooked with the stock. I'm going to add those right into there. So we're going to cook the potatoes in with it as well. We're going to bring the stock up to a boil, add the flour to it, and then mix it all together so that the flour clumps into a dough, just like if you've ever made like a cream puff. It's pat a choux dough, but if you've made those before, you know you add the flour to it, and then you stir it till it gets stiff, and then once that happens, you take it off the heat, then you add eggs and create with cream puffs. We're just going to the minus the egg stage. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil. I am gonna add some butter into it to just richen up that stock there so that it's that much more delicious. So just add that butter. I'm gonna let that melt in there. And while that's doing it, I wanna shred the chicken here that we cooked earlier. I've reserved the carrots because I want to add those in with the shredded chicken itself. I've got a little secret for when I shred the chicken. I've done it so many times by hand. So I have my food processor here, and I actually have the dough blade in there. And so I'm gonna put the chicken in there that is cooked, and we're gonna actually shred it with the dough blade in there. I'm gonna cut this chicken breast in half so it fits in there a little bit better. Okay, let's get that into there. Let's put the lid onto that and shred this up. And guys, let me tell you, this is slicker than slick to do it in the food processor, because how many of you have taken the time to shred up chicken with a fork and all that kind of stuff? Look how easy and perfectly delicious shredded that up. But don't use the blade, use the dough blade in there, because that will shred it up nicely. So just like that, the chicken is shredded. How easy is that? Seriously, the easiest thing in the world. Now I have my other ingredients here ready to go to create the filling. We have the shredded chicken here. I have the carrots that I used for the stock in there. I have garlic, I have onion, I have some fresh parsley. When we come back, we're gonna make the filling.
As summer comes into full swing, it's time to fire up the grill and treat your family to a special outdoor meal featuring everyone's favorite Klondike brand potatoes. Enjoy preparing one of our many chef-inspired recipes from the web, or create your own backyard culinary masterpiece using varieties from the full line of Klondike potatoes. Visit KlondikeBrands.com today for hundreds of recipe ideas and make your summers sizzle with Klondike Brands.
The stock has come back to a boil now, and to this, we're going to add the flour to create the dough, everybody. We're making coxinhas. I love them. Reminds me of Brazil. So into it, here's the secret when you're doing this. You want to add equal parts of flour to stock. And so if you have 4 cups of stock, you want to add 4 cups of flour to it. And you're going to just mix that all around into there until everything is mixed together. It's going to pull into a ball. It will get stiff, so just be aware of that. But you want to keep stirring that until it stops sticking to the side. So that's really important. So keep stirring that until it's no longer sticking. And that is looking good. All right. Looks great. Okay. Going to turn that off, and here's the trick. Now I'm going to take this, oh, it's heavy, put it out onto the counter here, and we're going to need this for just a minute, but I'm going to use the wooden spoon because it's really, really hot at this point. So I'm going to just kind of mix that around a little bit. The reason why you want to kind of mix this around at this point is to create a nice silky smooth dough. Otherwise, when it cools off, if you don't do this, it can turn a little clumpy, but it would still work out and be delicious. So let's just add this together here. I'm using the spoon here, just kind of testing that to see how hot that is. Be careful, it will be very hot. Obviously it was boiling, so I'm just going to stir that. And you can see that this is now beginning to come together into a very nice smooth dough, and that's exactly what we want it to do. It's like good dough. All right, just kind of move that around. I'm just being careful because it is hot. And there we go. It's pretty much ready to go now. You can see it's turned into a nice smooth dough. Now we're going to use this pretty quick here, so I'm not going to bother covering it. If you're not, I would cover it because it can get a film on it, and so cover it and put it into the refrigerator and hold it. But we're going to use it pretty quick here. So now to this, we're going to create the filling here. Let me just wipe that flour, excess flour off the top of that. And I'm going to add another pan here. We're going to heat this pan up and create our filling. So to this, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. And I already have some onions and garlic already cut up here. I'll bring this over. So we're going to just kind of do that. I'll move that dough out front there. And it's got to have lots of garlic, everybody. And that's what makes Brazil. I loved it. I remember you could always tell when it was dinner time because you would smell the garlic just wafting in the air. To this day, I love the smell of garlic for that very reason. I have some fresh parsley that I got from the garden that I'm going to chop up and add into there as well. But I am going to let that saute for just a minute to really get the fragrances out in the garlic and the onion there. So let's just kind of move that around, but be very careful. Word of caution with garlic. You don't want to burn the garlic because when you burn garlic, there's really not much you can do about it. And so you have to start over. So just be careful with garlic because once it's burned, there's really no way to repair it. So you just have to start over. Now this is smelling fantastic already. Love that garlic smell. All right, let's chop up that parsley. The parsley is going to go into there. Just going to turn that off for a second so it doesn't get away with me because remember that garlic, you don't want to overcook the garlic. Just a little bit of dried oregano into there. I could put fresh from the garden as well. It's just up to you. And then we're going to take the shredded chicken. And I hope you like that little trick doing it in the food processor because holy smokes, that's so much easier than doing it with a fork. So, but I do have the dough blade. That's the important part when you're doing it in the food processor. Don't use the regular blade because the regular blade will just cut it up. Use the dough blade, get that shredded up into there. I'll put that into the sink. I'm going to now turn that back on because we've got the chicken and that into there. To this, I want to add up a little bit of just some chopped up tomato. You can use a tomato paste in there if you want to. It's really up to you. The one thing about coxinhas, they are so versatile. Depending on wherever you are in the country, you're going to have a different coxinha recipe. It's very regional, and they're very proud of their coxinha recipes. This is just how I learned to do it when I was in Minas Gerais, which is a state there in Brazil. Now also to this, I'm going to add paprika. I'm going to add quite a bit of paprika to actually help with the coloring of it. We're going to begin to saute this together. I'll use the same wooden spoon that that I was using with the dough there. And then to this, I'm going to add some cream cheese also when it gets all sauteed together. Oh, I'm just kind of making a mess there. It's getting sloppy there. All right, stir that around. All of those beautiful colors. I have the cream cheese here that I'm going to add into it. I also want to add into the chopped carrots that we used in doing the stock itself. So let's just chop those up. They're cooked already. Very soft. So we'll get those into there. I'll get the cream cheese into there in just a second as well. So when we come back, we'll keep working on the coxinhas.
Hot and fresh from your oven. Rhodes.
Welcome back everybody to Cooking with Chef Bryan. I'm Chef Bryan, of course, and I'm showing you how to put together one of my favorite Brazilian treats, coxinhas. Coxinhas de frango, to be exact. Really, it actually means chicken leg. So I have the shredded chicken, we've made the filling, I stirred in the cream cheese in it, and it is ready to go. Adjusting the salt and pepper as needed into there. I've also divided out the dough that we made into some equal portions. Now these may be too large, they may be too small. It's just really up to how big or small you want the coxinhas. All right, so now I have the other ingredients here that we're going to dredge them in. I have some flour, I have some egg, and then I have breadcrumbs over here. But now what I'm going to do is actually create the filling or the well for the coxinha, for the filling to go into there. So I've just taken a piece of the dough itself, pressed it out flat. There we go. Kind of push those edges so they're a little flatter, so everything's a little even. You want to make sure it's nice and even on there. And then I'm going to take just a spoonful of the filling. Now be careful on the filling because a lot of people will put a little too much filling in there and they may get kind of like a bare spot. If that's the case and a little filling starts coming through, don't panic. Just take a little dollop of it and just slap it on there. It's not a big deal. Once you get the filling into there, we're going to start to bring these edges all up together and just kind of push them together, and we're going to shape it like a drumstick. because that's the name. So we're going to kind of just push that up, push it all together here. And as you can see now, I'm beginning to shape that. Just give it a nice little roll, get that up to that. This top portion I'm not going to use, obviously, because that's a lot of dough. So I'm going to pinch that off and just kind of bring that up to a little filling. Now, here's what I was talking about. See that little devil there that started coming through? We don't want that. So we're just going to take a piece of dough. We're going to put right onto there so that that doesn't have a hole in it. Now I'm going to take it, I'm going to very carefully just kind of roll it in my hand. Make sure that's pinched together. Now here's the other trick. Take it, turn it upside down with your hands together, and you're going to roll it so that that bottom portion actually creates a nice little point on there, because that's going to be the drumstick, basically. So here you have the shape of the coxinha itself. So very simple to put together. Now on this, what we're going to do here is I'm going to take it, I'm going to just kind of dip it in some flour, dredge it in flour, I should say. All right, now into some eggs. And then I have two types of breadcrumbs over here. I have an Italian seasoned breadcrumb that you can just buy mixed in with panko breadcrumbs. And so I have the two different types of breadcrumbs in there that are going to give me two different types of textures. So once you get it dredged in the egg, it goes into the bread itself, the crumbs for coating. And voila, now this is ready to go into the fryer. Now we're going to keep working on this. I'm going to show it again. I'm going to put that one on my plate over here so that it's ready to go. Let me just rinse off my hands here, and let's shape another one so that you can see how to do that. And so these are just so awesome. I'm so excited to eat these, everyone. So, okay, take this, make sure that your dough is nice and pliable. Kind of flatten it out with your hand with that flat spot on the bottom there. Flatten out the edges so they're not too rough there. Then you're going to take a spoonful of the filling. Once again, be a little careful on the filling. A little goes a long ways, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the filling that's the best part in that. Once you get that into there, we're going to start to just kind of close up the edges all the way around. Bring those edges all up together. And there you go. And you can see you just bring that up, kind of pinch that together. It reminds me of dim sum, actually. I mean, if you look at it, and put that in a steamer basket, and you could steam that and have dim sum. All right, so just kind of press that together at the top there so that it comes into a point. You're going to pull off that excess dough up there. Just hold that together. Kind of make sure everything's nice together. You don't have any holes in it. If you do, just put a piece of dough on it. Push it down just like that. Turn it upside down. Give it a little roll so that it shapes the top into the flour, into the egg itself, and then into the breadcrumbs. And that's how you actually do these. Then they're going to be deep fried to golden brown. Everything is nice and cooked in them, so we don't have to worry about that. So you can see now, nice and ready to go into the deep fryer. When we come back, we're going to finish off these coxinhas and have a Brazilian treat. Welcome back everybody to Cooking with Chef Bryan. I've been showing you how to put together Brazilian coxinhas. So delicious. Coxinha de frango, which is actually a chicken leg. It's the shape of a chicken leg. So I have my deep fryer going here. The oil's about 350, 375 degrees in there. And when you go to deep fry, as I always tell people, be so careful when you're frying with oil. You don't want little kids around working with it, and or animals around you, because it's just so very hot. So just be so careful when you have hot oil around. So those are done. I'm going to put them there. You can see they're nice and golden brown now from the breading. Everything is nice and cooked in them, and they are delicious. I can't wait for you all to try it. I have a limeade right here to the side of it. And you can look on my website for Brazilian limeade as well if you'd like to learn how to make a Brazilian limeade. It will be delicious. These are nice large coxinhas, so that's just how I like them. They also come in little teeny ones that you can just do like a one-bite coxinha and put in there. It's just up to you, however you would like to make them. I just figure if I'm going to make them, why not just make them nice and big so that they are delicious. So I'm going to add these last three into my fryer here. It just takes a couple of minutes for these to fry up until they are golden brown, and down they go into there. Delicious. As far as the limeade, you just take about 4 or 5 different limes, peel them. I don't like to make them with the peel on because it turns bitter really quick. Into the blender with 6 cups of water, puree it all together, strain it, add sugar to taste, and then you can serve it over ice with some fresh limes in there. It's a very simple thing to do. Now you can always go over to cookingwithchefbryan.com, grab the recipes. I actually have a caipirinha recipe, which is the Brazilian national adult beverage, I should say, and it does have cachaça in it, which is a rum made from sugarcane. It's very delicious and it's fun to put together. So if you've been to a Brazilian restaurant around in the area, maybe you've already had one there. These were a fun little street food that we would have on the streets. If you went out to restaurants, you could get them. They're in most bakeries, and delicious little recipes. So I'm going to take one. I want to cut it open so you can see what it looks like for coxinhas. If you've never had them, they're so fun to put together and to eat and enjoy. And so here you have it, a delicious little coxinha. There's the filling that we made together with that shredded chicken on there that we did with the food processor. Oh, so easy. Why do it any other way? But remember, don't use the actual blade. Use the dough blade, the plastic blade, onto there. And so here you have delicious coxinhas from Brazil. Head on over to Cooking with Chef Bryan and grab the recipe, cookingwithchefbryan.com. You can get this recipe as well as many other recipes. Delicious coxinhas de frango from Brazil. This is how I learned how to do them in Minas Gerais. You all go enjoy, and I'll see you next time. You can find all of these complete recipes on my website, cookingwithchefbryan.com.